All right, so we are going to make another page with wrapped images. It's only because if the more you do this, the more experience you're going to have with it, the more it's going to be, you're going to be comfortable with it, and it's just good. We're not here to do something one time. We're here to do it the same thing kind of over and over again for a while until we really get the hang of it and are comfortable with creating web pages with certain things on them. So this is very it's very usable, the whole idea of giving an image a class name and then using that class name to talk to that specific image on a page, and then floating it left or right, which means that the text around it, there'll be empty space created because of that around the image, and the paragraphs will kind of float around the image, and that's what floating is. So this is the finished page that we're going to do. You can use different colors. I just kind of created it. I think it's a pretty darn good looking page. These macro images, I like to take macro photography, so I'll just grab my camera and I took some of these, and these are all mine. And I'm going to give these to you in the assignment. There's going to be a zip file with all these what are called PNG files. And basically, a PNG file is a graphic file, a photo file, but it's typically created in Photoshop. And the great thing about PNG files that we'll use later on is that it has a transparency layer. It can read transparency. So if you don't want a background on the image, you can get rid of the image in a PNG and it will not show the background. So that's something later on that we'll do. But here is the page right here. I've sized them for you, and your page will look very, very similar to this when we're done. So I always want to show you that. So let's go ahead and go into, I'm going to use Atom. I don't know what you're going to use. The district's trying to figure out right now, this is before school starts, and they're trying to figure out what in the world are we going to use on a Chromebook, let alone on a Mac or a PC. So I use Atom, which is free and downloadable. But you might use something else. A text editor is just that. You can type out text, tell it it's HTML code, and off you go. And then it'll read it. So this is the Guthrie approved template that I always want you to start with. Notice the title has my name, it has what assignment it is, and it has, I made up a period. Okay? We're always going to do stuff between the body here. The body means the whole page. Anything showing up between the body will visually show up on your web page from top to bottom. And then what we'll do is typically in another video or at the end of just if I have one video for something, we'll talk to all the stuff. We'll talk to all the stuff between the body tags down here, up here, and we'll style them. We'll resize them, color them, create empty space around them. We'll do it all up there. Okay? All right, so let's get going. So here's my template. Again, I always want you to do that. And I always want you to go, File, Save. I'll do a Save As because I already have it. And you're always going to make a folder for an assignment. And the reason is, again, very quickly in the class, we start using images on every assignment. So you always want your web page and the images in the same physical location. And if you set it up so when you save a file for the first time and you make a folder, you can place the images and the web page in that folder, and they'll always stay together. They can find each other. All right. Let me cancel because I've already done that. All right, so we're all set to go. So I'm going to do the HTML first, and we're going to do a large heading. If I could type here. All right. So there's my large heading. No, I'm not going to check it yet. Second here. And then we're going to do another heading just below it, but it's going to be smaller. You have 6 types of sizes of heading, 1 through 6. And put your name here and what period. Notice I'm opening a tag and then closing it. You start it and then you do something, you tell it what you want to do, and then you stop that effect or stop the tag. All right, so I got that. Now, I'm going to do below that, I'm going to do a paragraph. And what I like to do is I'll set the paragraph tag up. I'll hit the space bar a couple times. And then I'll close. I always want to open and close first before I do anything so I don't forget. Now, I'm going to go in between the paragraph tags. Notice my cursor is blinking there. And in Atom, I can just press the letter L, we found out. And I can choose from the list lorem ipsum. Now notice that Atom will run this thing in a one line, and it's like, how crazy is that? But most of the time in text editors, if that happens, especially in Atom or anything you're using, if you go to View, you're always looking for Toggle Soft Wrap. And the Toggle Soft Wrap, when you click it, will place the paragraph in the window, however wide the window is that I'm working in. And notice it's all together. And the cool thing is with this assignment, once you have a paragraph of Latin text, I can copy and paste this paragraph. Now the thing is, you also want to copy and paste the paragraph tag. So here's the open P, here's the paragraph of Latin text. It's gibberish, by the way. And then here's the closing P. Okay, so I've done that. And what I'm going to do is, I like to have two paragraphs. If I'm going to use Latin text, I like to have two paragraphs of Latin text in between images. It fills up the page. It makes it look like a real page. So I'm going to highlight the paragraph tag and the paragraph text, and then the closing paragraph tag. I'm going to go Command-C or whatever you're using to copy it. And then I'm going to hit the return key and paste it. So now I have two paragraphs, right, in between the body tags. Now, I know my images are called macro1.png, macro2.png, and so forth. So I'm going to use that. I already know that. So I'm going to use the image tag, img-src, which stands for image source. And in quotation marks, in quotation marks, I'm going to name the actual file macro1.png. Notice I have to say what kind of file type it is, the PNG. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a class name inside the angle brackets. So I'm going to hit the space bar and say class equals, and I'll call it macro1. Okay? So that is the class name. So from now on, this image on our page will actually be called, the computer will recognize it as this name, and we'll be able to talk to that specifically eventually up in the style tags up here. All right, so we got that. Now, I'm going to make two more paragraphs of Latin text. So I've got them up here. I'm going to make sure, just take my time and copy just the paragraphs and the tags right there. And I'm going to go below, put my cursor just below the IMG tag and go Command-V or paste. All right? So we're moving along. Now, what I'm going to do is, I can do this if you want. You can go up here and copy this line. You just want to make sure that you take your time and copy the right thing. And then I'm going to go below here and paste it. And I'm going to change macro1 to macro 2. All right? Now, I'm going to grab my two paragraphs again and go Command-C or copy. And I'm just going to start doing this. And I'm going to have 5 images on the page. 4 or 5 images are pretty good. I've resized them about probably 400 or 450 for width. I always go for the width. I don't really have to even deal. When you typically change something, especially on a Mac in Preview, I don't know what you'll be using, but typically when you change the width, the height, you want the height and the width to stay together, so you're not stretching out the image and getting a weird shape. All right, so going to do this a few more times. However you want to do this, it's a good way. So thankfully we don't have to type out the paragraph of text, which that would be daunting. Okay, and I've just got one more. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go here and paste the image tag again for macro 5. And I'm going to save the file. So I'm going to go Command S, or however you want to go, File, Save, however you want to keep doing it. Okay, now I'm going to grab my paragraphs up here and finish up the HTML. It was actually that quick. I know I talk a lot. I just try to kind of explain what I'm doing. All right, and then let's put 2 paragraphs below the image. There. All right, so on Atom, there's a little extra, what's called package in Atom, and if you download it, and I'll show you, if I'm trying to figure out what the district's going to allow us to use, so they haven't figured that out yet, so hopefully I'll know that by the time school starts, but we'll figure out what we're going to do. But I have a little extra thing, and I'm able to, once I save this file as a .html file, notice it says .html, the Atom will recognize it as a web page and read the code and color the coding differently than a paragraph of text. Okay, but I can click on Chrome, and this is what our page looks like now. Okay, at least we have the images and the paragraphs done. Yay! And now we're going to basically just completely stylize it between the style tags and talk to all the elements on our page, and again, resize them and do whatever we have to do. So I'll go back to Atom, but again, just go ahead and save it. So typically in software too, I'll just kind of recognize this. I'll show you if I type this and added some stuff. Oh, okay, it didn't do it. I thought I was going to put a little asterisk, because a little asterisk will show up when you need to save it. All right, so let me go back to this here, and we have all the elements on our page in between the body tag. So we're done with the HTML. Okay, now we're gonna talk to all the elements: the body tag, the H1 tag, the H3 tag, the paragraph, and especially the IMG tag, or we're going to use this name right here to talk to each image individually. And we're going to stylize and totally redo our page so it has some style to it and it doesn't look boring. So here we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is talk to the body tag. And the body, again, for us, the body means the whole page. So if I want to change the background color of the whole page, you're going to actually talk to the body tag and say, hey, I want to change the background of the body. So we're going to do that. So we're going to say body, and then the curly brackets, and we're going to say background, colon, and I've chosen some colors, so you don't have to go with these. I got it from our friends at Color Lovers. And let me save it. And let me just check. I'm going to see if this is working here. No. Okay, so let me... There we go. Okay, I had an O instead of a 0. Okay, so that's a 0 right there. All right, so we got a background color. I always like to check it to see if it's reading it. All right, which it is now. So the other thing we're going to do is, if you go to our page, right now everything is 100% width. See, there's no space here. And I'm actually going to talk to the body, and I'll say, hey, I want everything on the page to be only 85% of the body, not 100% like it is now. It goes all the way to the end, and it's like visually it's hard to read, and there's a quick way to kind of change that. So I'm going to go width. Oh, sorry, I have in caps. Width and a colon, and then I'm going to go 85 and the percentage sign, and then a semicolon. You always want to remember those darn semicolons. Okay, so again, I'm going to reload it. And now it's only 85%. Now it is on the left, and we're going to change that now. But it's going to create empty space, and it's easier to read and visually see if things are in the middle of the page and you have some what are called breathing space, or what Art calls negative space. So I'm going to go back. We have the background and the width. I'm going to say margin. And we're going to create two numbers for the margin. The first number is going to be for the top and the bottom. And then I'm going to hit the space bar and use the word auto. And that's going to place things on the left and the right. It's going to allow the computer to figure out how to place things in the middle. Okay? So if I give it two numbers, the computer goes, oh, okay, this is going to be for the top and the bottom margin, and this is going to be for the left and the right. And with the word auto, the computer does the work for us. So I'm going to save it, Command S, or however you want to save it. And then I'm going to reload it. And sure enough, now it's in the middle. Okay? So we are on our way. Now, we're done with the body. I'm going to stay in between the style tags. And notice I clicked. And notice again, we're naming the tag. We have curly brackets. And in between the curly brackets, we're creating a laundry list of stuff of how to change this tag down here. Okay? That's all we're doing. All right. So we're going to talk to the large heading, H1. So I have H1, the curly brackets. I have my cursor between the curly brackets. I'm going to say the font dash size, and I'm going to say 80px. px stands for pixels. So you can do pixels, you can do points like Word, you can do something called percentage, you can do 100% is whatever the computer recognizes as the normal size for H1 is 100% of that size. You can do 150%, 200% if you want it bigger. In Web 2 we use EM, which is like numeric measure or something, and it's 1 EM is again 100% of that size, whatever the computer says is normally a heading size, heading 1 size. So we'll use some of that later on in this class. So font dash size colon 80px semicolon. That's going to change the font size of the heading. And then the color, the word color is going to change the text color. So that's how the word color only changes the text color. So we're going to use a number sign, FEFEE 7. Okay, and I got that from Color Lovers. And then margin, we're going to create a margin left. So we're going to move it in from the left so many pixels. And we're going to do 60px. And then we're going to move the margin on the bottom. And what we're going to do is actually have a negative number. I found that when I made this page, there was too much space between the large heading and the smaller heading below it. So what I'm doing is I'm talking to the larger heading, and I'm saying, hey, you have a margin on the bottom. I want to take away some of that. So I'm going to go minus 40px. And it's going to take away the empty space and bring up anything below the large heading, which is the H3 heading, the paragraph, the images are all going to move up closer to the large heading. And then I'm going to change the font family. So this is the type of font, And these are on. You have to pick them right now. I'll show you later on how to download a file. But right now we're just going to use fonts that are probably on most computers. And it's got D-I-D-O-T, Didot. Okay? So again, I'm going to save it. Let me just kind of show you where we are. Okay? So again, don't worry about this, but we're on our way. We changed the font. The color didn't show up, so let me see what's going on there. Oh, I got two hashtags. Things like that will happen, believe it or not. In coding, you'll start to get the hang of it and start to see it. There you go. So it's like a cream color off-white. All right? So we're on our way. So we did that, and it's D-I-D-O-T, Didot. And then I'm going to talk to the H3 tag below it. And again, I name the tag, do the curly brackets, and then create a laundry list of stuff. So font dash size, and we're going to go 30px. And then we're going to change the color, which is the text color. And we're going to do FF275E. I believe. We'll check it. And then a semicolon. And then we're going to change the margin left, just like we did with the large heading. We're going to bring it in, but we're going to do this 70 pixels. And then the font family, which is the style of font, we're going to say cursive. Okay? So I'm going to save it. And I like to save and kind of work and then just check it to see if my coding is being read. If it's not, there's an issue just above what's not showing up. Okay? So what happens is in coding, if this H3 stuff that we just did isn't showing up, there's probably an error just up here. And it'll stop the coding from reading just below it. Okay? Just a trick. All right, so let's go. Keep going here. We're going to talk to all the paragraph tags. And the first thing we're going to do is change the font dash size. Now again, we're going to try our hand at EM. So I'm using, instead of 1 EM as normal, whatever paragraph size is normal, I'm using 1.5 times that, 1.5. And then a semicolon, EM. And then text, I'm going to indent the text of each paragraph. The first line is going to be indented, and it's going to be indented 60px. So the first line of the paragraph will go into the right. And then font family, I'm going to say Palatino. And then the color, and a number sign before the thing, I'm going to say, if I can get this right here, F0D. Let's see if that is correct. I'm going to reload it. Yeah. So there you go. So it's starting to look, pretty good. All right, we're not floating images yet, but we will. Cool. All right. Just go a little bit, check, go a little bit, check, go a little bit, check. Because if you type out the whole thing and don't check, and then something's not working, good luck trying to find it. All right. So now I'm going to talk to the class names. This just went purple because of that. I'm going to talk to the class names right here, macro 1. And when we talk to a class name, we have to use a period before the name. So the computer will recognize, oh, that's a class name down there. So we're going to talk to macro 1, macro 2, macro 3, macro 4, and macro 5. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to go dot macro 1 and do the curly brackets. And how we're going to change that thing, whatever's called macro 1 down there, we're going to float it left. And then we're going to do a margin of 20px. Now margin will create empty space just outside of an element, and padding will create empty space just inside an element. And I know it's tricky, but you'll start to get the hang of it a little bit. So that's going to create empty space outside of each image. And then we're going to create some empty space just inside the image, and then we're going to color it and make like the frame around it. And you do that by creating some padding space. So I'm going to say 30px and a semicolon. And then I'm going to change the background, which will just be the color of the padding. And I'm going to say background colon and a number sign. And it's going to be FEE7. Okay. And then I'm gonna save it and then reload it. Okay. Oh, and there's one more thing. See how sharp these are? The corners? You know, they're very sharp. I'm going to use something called border radius and kind of curve them down a little bit. Not too much, but just to kind of soften that look. So I'm going to go back to my coding. In between, make sure I'm in between the curly brackets, talking to macro 1. And I'm going to say border dash radius. And I'm going to only say 8px, just a little bit. And I'll show you what that does. So just see how it just kind of softly, kind of softens up the curve a little bit. It's not overwhelming, but just a little bit. And it softens it up to the eye. All right. So now, since we did the first one, this will go fairly quick. You just want to make sure you want to highlight all that coding to macro 1. I'm going to stay in between the style tags and paste. And again, notice I'm still in between the style tags down here. And I'm going to say macro 2. And instead of left, I want to do it right. Okay, but everything else is going to stay the same. And I'm going to save it and then check it. There's our first one. There's macro 1, and there's macro 2. All right, and we're just going to keep going back, excuse me, back and forth. So I can actually highlight both of these. Excuse me. Copy, and then I'm going to paste it. And again, I'm pasting in between the style tags. So I'm going to go back here and make this macro 3 and make this macro 4, and then I just have to do one more, and I know that's going to go left, so I'm going to grab one of those, macro 3, and put it down here and save it and change this to macro 5. And again, just take your time and keep checking what it looks like. Keep checking what it looks like. And again, you're going to get frustrated at first because you're going to miss a semicolon. But what happens is it won't work, you know. Or if I have an issue, it'll work down to here, and because there's an issue here, everything below it will not work. All right, typically. So I'm going to save it and then look at it in a browser. And there it is. There's the page. And it really, you know, compared to most things, it didn't take that long. There was a lot of copying and pasting. You just want to take your time and be kind to yourself, because this is like a new language you're learning if you're new to this. And you're going to have mistakes at first. You're going to miss a semicolon. You know, things aren't going to work, but you're going to start to see things. Your eye is going to start to pick up on things. I mean, it still happens to me. So, again, just hang in there. Thanks for watching this video. And again, I always want you to start with the Guthrie approved template, because we're here to learn it, not just you know, copy it and call it a day. And the more you can hand type something out, the deeper in your brain it goes. So you really have better understanding for it. All right. That is it. So